Transit testing is the part in Transit 7 that has changed the most. We're pretty excited about it, and there's much more to come in this area as well. So where we used to have workflows in Transit 6, those are now called modules. I always describe them as modules. They are more pieces of workflows than they are entire workflows. So as we build global content, when you build content, you usually build it for what a single position is doing, as opposed to a workflow that often has multiple swim lanes of different people doing different things. So now the naming in Transit is more reflective of that. So in our global content, or in the content you build, anything that was previously called a workflow is now called a module. Inside a module, and I can just pick any module, when you create that module, once it's created, you have the ability to add it into test scripts. And when you change something, to change it, there's tasks are gone. So you no longer have to worry about tasks. All you have to do is double click inside a step, and then it gives you the ability to make any changes you want here. So in this case, it was functional test scripts, and they're having them add a whole bunch of different orders. And if I wanted to make it look differently, I can just put in, carriage returns for wherever I want them to be and save that, and it's going to keep those changes. If there was something that I wanted to do with regards to a header field, before there used to be boxes over here that would allow you to search the header fields, but I'm not sure how well known that functionality was. So now if you wanted to bring in a header field, all you have to do in either the action or outcome field is hit the open square bracket, and it'll pop open a name of all of the detail fields that are available to your organization. And if you don't know exactly what it's called, but you know that maybe it's got code in it, it's a contain search, so it'll bring up anything that has codes in it, and you just select it to add it in here. So that's similar to the way it was before, but it's much easier with the search functionality the way it is. Additionally, what's changed in testing is that these codes are always there, the ones that we've always shared with you in the past, but now you also have the ability to add your own. The only people who can add codes there, though, are the admins. So if there's something that's specific to your site that you've always wanted to have in the header details and never requested because you knew it was site specific, you can go ahead and add that now by just asking your admin to go ahead and add it. And that we talk about in the org settings, or in the admin classes that we're giving. So again, in workflows, you have the ability to set the position, and by setting the position, in modules, you have the ability to set the position. And when you do that, those positions carry over to the test script. So if your workflows are built out and you have all of your details pre-populated with what's most common, it makes it much quicker to build your test scripts. So those are the major changes in modules. As well, one thing that's new is that you can upload modules. So before, you could only upload test scripts. So if you had something that you knew was just a module and you wanted to get it into Transit, you had to upload it as a script, then convert it to a module, and then you could use it. Now you can just directly upload here. To upload, you're going to right click and you're going to choose Import from Excel. What we typically actually recommend people do first is export, and so that you'll have the headers as they are. So in this case, I've exported what's here, and now I know that these are the column headings that I need for my module. So you can start with this as your base, and you can add in, if you have something from a vendor that they've given you a test script, or they've given you functional test scripts with actions and outcomes, you can copy the action outcomes in, add in the application and the position, and then you're good to go. You can just save that and then re-upload it into Transit. There was a lot of people who are hesitant to do a lot of uploading before in Transit because it created all those ugly tasks that were ZZZ named. Tasks are completely gone. So when you upload anything into Transit now, it's just English. So you give your module a name, you put the content in that spreadsheet, you uploaded it here, and it looks just like it looked as it came to you from the vendor. So again, like in this case, where a lot of the actions didn't have outcomes, it's not going to magically put outcomes in. But what it is going to do is allow you to do test scripts very quickly. I'll ask quickly if anyone has any questions on modules. Okay, if not, then I'll move on to scripts. So again, we've renamed scenarios to be scripts so that it's more understandable that that's where all of your test scripts go. The test scripts are still two different categories, and where we used to call the scenarios process-based or functional, the functional test scripts are still called functional, and this little icon represents functional, and this little gear one represents scenario-based scripts. So the scenario-based scripts are still going to be used for integration testing and user acceptance testing, or anything that's, workflows across days, versus the functional test scripts, which is where your system and regression test scripts will reside. You no longer have the ability to assign, I guess I should have said that for modules as well, assign a number to a script. So it's just going to auto generate your number based on whatever your last number is. Inside the scenarios, it's the same as in the modules. You have the ability to just double click here and edit anything you want in here. So if before you had a workflow that was perfect for everything that you wanted to do, and you went to insert it and you looked at the last step, and the last step said that the orders were signed, and in your case, an alert fired, you had to create a new workflow for that, or you had to at least create new tasks and then insert them. All you would do now is, if you had a different outcome, you would say, alert is fired, and put in whatever you want here. And all that's doing is changing the test script, and your workflow remains as is. So we've taken the burden out of updating the test scripts for sure, because now it's very easy to update the test scripts to be exactly what you want them to say. What's significantly different is the way you create a test script. So if I go back to my scripts and I say that I want to add a new script, and I give it a name, and just because I like to, I'm going to do another car accident one. You choose whether it's functional or scenario testing. If it's scenario testing, it's going to have the days from to. You can put in an objective if you want. And then you're going to click this add next, or next add modules. So in scenario-based testing, we're assuming that you're doing workflow-based testing. And so what it's going to actually allow you to do is pull in the modules in the order that they occur. So in any situations where you've worked directly with us, or where we've explained to you before, we've always gone into scenarios and gone into the header and walked through the highlights of the scenario first. What happens first? What happens next? What happens next? So, in this case, if the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to be a quick reg, then I type in my day. And if you've got multiple facilities, you can choose your facilities. If you don't know if the workflow has a position, you can put that in. And then you go over here to the modules, and you can just start typing. So quick reg. So I don't know what my workflow is called, but I know it has quick reg in it. And here you can see where it says global after the workflows. That means that it's coming for global. And if it doesn't have global, it means it's coming from your content. So you can choose based on that. If I'm going to quick reg a new patient, then I can choose this one. And then the next thing that's going to happen is the EDRN is going to triage the patient. So again, I don't know what my workflow is called necessarily, but here's the one I want. Doing the complete ED triage 1 and 2. And then because the triage has been done, I'm now going to go ahead and complete that registration. So I'm going to complete the quick reg for a new patient, which again, there's one here from global, one from my own. I can choose the one from my own if I want, and so on. So you walk through with your SMEs for any new scenario you're creating, what happens next, what happens next, what happens next. And if you don't have a module built yet, you can go ahead and put that in your workflow description here. So, oopsie. Whatever that happens to be, and then you click this generate scripts. So what it's going to do is it's going to pull in the workflows exactly as they are. And then at the end where I had that, it's going to put a placeholder for me. So before, when we would put in placeholders, you now don't have to actually put in those 452s that we used to put in. You can just put in an actual placeholder, and you could have described the whole workflow there, everything that you wanted. And you still need to go back and fill in a real module afterwards, but it makes it much, much easier to get your test script development done. So that's how you would build a script using content that you've already created. And I'll stop here and ask if anyone has any questions on this. Okay, if not, then the next thing that you're probably going to want to see is, well, how do I get my existing test scripts in? So I've got a beautiful Excel RadNet test script that I've used forever that I loved. How do I get it in? And you'll see that I did one yesterday as well. So what you're going to do now is you're going to say add script again, and you're going to say and I'm going to say it's functional. So because I said
the difference between functional and scenario.
So scenario is for testing where some things occur on day 1, some things occur on day 2, some things occur on day 3, and then the patient gets discharged, and then you code the visit, etc. So it's day in the life kind of testing across a patient visit, versus functional testing is for your regression test scripts and your system test scripts, where it's just testing out the system functionality and it's not day based. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yep. So again, you can give it a description or not. And then when you click save, it bypasses that, that first generate screen, because now it's expecting that you're going to be, instead of talking about a story and walking through a story, that you're going to either have a script to upload or you're just going to want to add your modules. In which case, if you have your modules already built, you can use this. If you don't, if you want to import from Excel, again, you would typically export first to get the headers. I've already done that. Once you've got your headers, you would cut and paste from whatever the vendor gave you into our format. And then you choose import from Excel. You go out and you look on your hard drive for the file that you want to upload. Click open and click import. Going to take a couple seconds here. And then it brings it in. So again, if you didn't have actions and outcomes, it's not going to magically create the actions and outcomes for you, but wherever you had action and outcomes, it is going to bring them in. And what's really cool, in hopefully the end of Q1 of 2024, we are going to have something here called modules, or sorry, workflows. And those workflows are going to be the actual ability to import workflow type diagrams and turn them into test script shells. We don't have that yet, but that's what's coming. In the meantime, what we do have that is TransIT AI related is the ability to help you name things. So people always hated coming up with names for workflows, et cetera, and trying to have it match any kind of a standard. So now TransIT will actually name things for you. So here is the DOE portion in this RadNet test script. I've highlighted all the steps for it. I could have included that when clicking it on the app bar if I wanted, but at any rate, I right click here and I say create module. When I say create module, it's going to automatically default in the vendor. It's going to default into my current state project, and it's going to give you a module name. It's also going to put a bit of a description in here. If you don't like the name that it's given you, if you wanted to change it, then you can go ahead and change it. If you like the name, you can save it or keep it. When I click save here, it's going to add it into the test script. So again, it's going to really help with the creation of test scripts and the creation of modules. So you'd put in your test script and you would go through and chunk out the modules, and then those modules are back here and available to use. So if I go in and look, here's the module that I just created in that test script. So I can keep using this every time that I'm doing DOE in any other script going forward. Any questions about that?
Patty, I have a question about uploading into a scenario. We used to get stopped error messages if we had certain columns where there were blanks. Is that going to happen?
I think
let's
I think if you put something in that's invalid, it will tell you.
Okay.
I'll have to test that out, and you know, there's going to be a virtual user group meeting on the 15th of December, and we'll put that on the agenda for it. I'm pretty sure, unless somebody else tried to upload something that's got like an invalid position or an invalid application in it. And do you know if you get error messages? Okay, we'll have to test that out, and like I said, we'll report back on that on the 15th, okay?
Yeah, and it was also a little fussy if there were certain special characters that we used. Is that
special characters are still not a good idea?
Okay.
So,
all right.
and it's because, you know, for example, here there's greater than symbols used. It's okay to use a whole bunch of greater than symbols, but if you use a greater than and a less than symbol, HTML is going to omit the text between those two, because that's what it means in HTML. And it's the same thing, like certain things mean something in HTML. So it's just better to not use special characters if you don't absolutely need to. So again, we've gone through modules and we've gone through scripts. The next thing then is testing, and I'm hoping that everybody's going to be very excited by the changes that are here. So I've got a few test rounds set up here. You see the icons are different. What we've tried to do, though, is make everything more face up. So for example, doing your roster is face up here, and doing your test planning is face up here. So you don't have to do a lot of right clicks to do things. There still are some right click options. So here's the dashboard, here's the test report, here's the summary, and here's your issue list. But if I wanted to edit the test round or change what project it was, add a script, remove a skip, put them on hold, things that you don't do as frequently are still available as right click options. So now when I go into the dashboard for this test round, you'll see it looks pretty much the same, but going to your position dashboard is slightly different. So it's again face up, no more right click. Here's the icon for choosing your positions. So it used to be before that your positions were chosen under your user settings, which is now over here under your initial. But now if you want to choose your positions, you go to the test round and you update the roster directly. So if you click here, it brings up the roster. If you wanted to add yourself into something, then you can go ahead and add yourself in by doing add coverage and just choosing, choosing yourself. And now I've got that position. So when I go back to the dashboard here, when I click to display my dashboard, it will refilter it to be my position-based dashboard. And it shows you, your steps and when you're due up, the same as it always did. If I want to remove that position dashboard, I just click this icon to remove it. So again, things are mostly face up. You'll notice here, the header is a little bit different as well. I guess we should have talked about that in scripts. So right now, I did mention to you that you'll be able to customize header details if you want to. We also want to remind everyone that we do build a lot of global content. So if you choose, say we had chosen patient first name, and say you decided you only wanted it to be called first name, We would recommend you not do that, because then you wouldn't be able to use any content that we've developed that already has patient first name in it without going and editing that content. So it's definitely fine for you to add new things, but unless you decide you don't want to use our content at all, I would just be careful about what you customize there. So in here though, you can see this little icon here. And so that means that in this specific scenario, we haven't chosen what we want to show on the dashboard. So if I do want to change it, all I do is I click that icon and I go in and I put a sequence. So if I want the MRN to show first, and then I want the patient name to show second, then I just update here and I go back to my test dashboard, and then it's automatically updated. So I think that's a nice feature. When you go inside a test script now, there's some significant differences. Everything is face up again, except for the things that you won't do that often, like if you wanted to, sorry, it hasn't been passed. Sorry, if you pass a step and wanted to reset it, then the reset is available from a right-click option. But here, this is the pass icon, this is the fail one, and this is the skip. If you want to add a issue to a step, this one already has an issue added to it. So because it already has an issue, I can hover over it and it gives me a bit of information about the issue. If this one, if I wanted to add a note to, I can click note, and I can, notice that it defaulted in the note type of script change. That's also something new that for things like that, you have the ability to define the defaults, and we discussed that on the admin class. So you want to make sure that your admin for your note type, since 95% of all the note types have already been, always been script changes, you would want them to default that in. So I put in whatever I want them to fix, and then I click save, and it adds it here. So you can have as many notes and as many issues as you want, and they'll just keep carrying out this way, which is nice, because if there was something you wanted to call out for education and something that needed a script change, you can put both notes on them. Or if there was, you know, more than one issue that you realized from this step, you could put more than one issue on. When I go ahead, I've still got the ability to multi-select and pass multiple. And you'll notice they stay on the screen until you refresh. When I refresh, they then go away and I'm on to my next set of steps for the next person to up. Still the same email and texting functionality. Those are the main things that I was going to go over today with module scripts and testing. Does anybody have any questions with anything that I've shown? So I will show a couple of new features and issues then. If you're managing the test round and, you know, a whole bunch of issues been logged and none have been assigned yet, or a group haven't been assigned, you can first of all go here and you can filter to all the ones that don't have anyone assigned, and then you can take a chunk of them and multi-select them, right-click, and say review selected issues. So when I review selected issues, it builds a list here for me, and I can go through and I can start assigning these. Once I assign them, it highlights it in a different color, so I'll know which ones I've looked at so far. So I move on to my next one and I assign that. And it continues to highlight them. So a nice way to be able to get through a group of issues at one time. And that's the same if you're assigning issues, or if you were just even wanting to review your own issues, you can filter to yourself. Another piece of functionality that we're just starting to roll out is the ability to build a bookmark. Right now, you can only build one bookmark. So once I've built the bookmark, that bookmark stays there until I decide I don't want it. But for example, I could build a bookmark and call it open issues. And I could say that the statuses I want are the statuses that for this organization are considered open. And once I save that, it stays here as a bookmark and it filters to those open issues. One thing that I didn't show you, and I'm signed on as me. Let me quickly sign out and sign on as another user type. If I were to sign on as a regular TransIT user, when I sign on, it gives me information that's important to me. This is going to be expanded to include plans information. Right now, it's showing just testing information. So here, I know that there's an active test round, but I know that I don't have any positions in that test round. So if I click here, it'll take me to here and it'll let me add myself in. So might as well add myself in here. And when I go back to home, it then, oh, I must not have saved it. But anyway, it would show here and then it would show when you're due up in scripts. Again, there's going to be more functionality coming where there's a section for plans down here. The admins have additional functionality already that's specific to the admins. Okay, I'll ask one more time if anyone has any questions about it.
Patty,
Yep.
I'm not sure if you saw Terry's question, but she
No, I didn't. I'm
asked,
sorry.
That's okay. It just came through. Will
Yep.
the modules be able to be clinical or technical? So ADT/ORM based, meaning can they be separate?
In the module names, it would just be however you name them. So yeah, like the modules themselves are just pieces of functionality that you string together to facilitate test script building. So they don't have to be all clinical. They can be, you know, ADT based, or they can be human resource based. They can be anything you want the modules to be. And, you know, if we go back to the modules page here, what you would do is make sure you assign the vendor to the module. So in it's this, when you assign a vendor, it makes that automatically be available to you inside the steps. And so it's the same as it was in TransIT 6. If you want to have a workflow that goes across multiple vendors, then don't put the vendor name in here and wait until after you've finished creating the module before you assign that. But you know, you can chunk these up any way you want. So if it were you know, a ADT based one, and you wanted to put something here in the description, you wanted to say, you know, registration workflow for whatever, you could categorize them that way. Otherwise, they're just categorized now by vendor. Did that answer your question, Terry?
She said 100%.
Okay. Okay, so if there's any other questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, we'll wrap up. And hopefully people think that these changes are positive. We've tried to be really sensitive to the feedback we've received in the past about naming convention, about making it easier to update and maintain test scripts. And we really think that this is it now. So we've removed the tasks, so you no longer get annoying messages to say that that task is in 45 other scenarios. Are you sure you want to make the change? Because you don't have that anymore. You just make the change directly in the test script and then you're good to go. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.